Thank you very much. Welcome to CBR Live Media. Could you please introduce yourself and more about your role with the National Dinosaur Museum?
Yeah, good morning. My name is David Barker. I'm the manager at the National Dinosaur Museum. As the manager, I oversee a team of 25 staff. We organise tours here. We have a lot of school tours that come in and tours for the public at the weekends and in the school holidays. We have a gift shop, a lovely gift shop here, and we also have a garden, and we update our exhibits often. So as a manager, we have to plan ahead which displays we'll be updating and basically overseeing all facets of the museum.
Thank you. When I came in, I noticed that there is construction work outside the museum. Could you please tell us more about this renovation work? What do visitors expect from this?
This is a big civil works that is going on. They're making a new exit off the Barton Highway, and the whole development will end up having a new service station, a car wash, and we believe a convenience store as well. The impact on the museum has been that the works have impacted part of our garden, but this has given us an opportunity to expand our garden later this year.
Okay, I also noticed that the museum has done a lot to attract Chinese visitors, or visitors from the Chinese communities, or visitors from a multicultural background. Could you please particularly brief me more about what you have done to attract the Chinese?
When I became the manager at the museum about 6 months ago, I was lucky enough to find that I had some talented Chinese staff within the team, and I wanted to be able to use their skills to help us work much more closely with the Chinese communities. We put together a marketing plan with the team, and this was to initially focus on the local Chinese communities, then look nationally, particularly in the Sydney market, and then ultimately at the international Chinese visitor market as well.
So in addition to marketing methods, the museum has adopted on other social media channels. You particularly introduced WeChat, and WeChat is less known to the Australian businesses and organizations, but is quite popular among the Chinese community. So how did you come up with this idea?
Again, I'm lucky that within our team we have these talented Chinese staff members. One of them in particular had taken her own initiative to start a WeChat channel for the museum, and we're now developing more information on that channel. The first stage of what we're doing is to put information on the museum, particularly on the exhibits, which we've completed that stage, which is now on our Chinese, on the WeChat channel. And the next stage is to put audio tours on the WeChat channel. We hope to complete this within the next 2 months or so, and then we will start to market our WeChat channel much more heavily than we are now.
So why? What is the significance of tapping into the Chinese market?
Well, the Chinese market locally in the ACT is the number one international visitation market, overnight visitation market, and nationally the Chinese international overnight visitors are the number one in terms of the numbers of visitors and the spend that the visitors have. Locally, we have a large international student population of Chinese students, and I want to make sure that we are in the best position to offer, particularly the family and visitors that the international students have, the best opportunity to enjoy the museum. Perhaps they would not have English language. We want to make sure that visitors can enjoy as much as possible.
So I must say what you have done, the strategy, the approaches can be seen as the first of their kinds in Canberra and the region. So they can actually be very inspiring for other businesses and organizations. So there are breakthroughs, of course, for the museum. How did you come up with these ideas, and why you're so pioneering?
I'm not sure if we're the first, but we're definitely one of the first, I believe. I'm lucky in my past job. I worked for the ACT government, and my job was as a partnerships business development manager within the destination marketing team. So part of my job was to be aware of what the latest the latest market is, particularly for the international markets, understanding the needs of the Chinese visitors. I worked with a lot of other organisations to make sure that my knowledge was up to date, and I worked with a lot of the local businesses too to make sure that they could understand how to connect with Chinese communities and make sure that their businesses were adapting to the larger numbers of Chinese visitors that were coming.
I believe that people would say that museum is a shrine of discoveries, of history, of culture, of lots of things. But I think facing almost every museum or galleries, whatever, to stay relevant, to stay interactive, to stay attractive. So what is your vision for the National Dinosaur Museum? And how do you see international cooperation? How could international cooperation intertwine in this?
We're lucky we see ourselves as a place of education, and we like to educate by entertaining. We're lucky we have a lot of content. We have the evolution of the planet, so we have millions of years of content to be playing with. At the moment, our vision is to update some of our displays. So we're undergoing a complete overhaul of over 60% of the displays upstairs. We've begun doing this. We just opened a new feathered dinosaur display last month. We will be putting more technology into the displays as well, and the other big job that we have coming up will be the development of an interactive dinosaur garden over the next 6 months as well.
So may I ask, where is the interactive dinosaur garden? Is it downstairs, outside?
No, it'll be outside. We will be expanding more than double the size of the garden, going out the other side of the museum, where we lost half of our garden because of the civil works. We have worked closely with our landlord to be allowed to make a much bigger garden on the other side.
Could you please tell me more about the expansion of the Dinosaur Museum I missed out in the previous interview?
In terms of the displays, we actually source a lot of our exhibits in China. We work closely with companies in China. China, obviously, I think is one of the leaders in the world in dinosaur museums, and we're learning a lot. The owners of the museum visit China often, and they have a lot of good contacts out there. So we learn when the owners visit the museums in China, they make good contacts. They see how the museums there are displaying and working to give the information to visitors. So we use a lot of this information that we're hoping can make this museum even better.
Great. So the last question will be the message to the Chinese community. So we are the largest Chinese language media in Canberra. We have magazines, we have YouTube channel, we have a lot of media platforms. Is there any particular message you would like to pass on to the Chinese visitors?
I think we are particularly keen to be able to educate and entertain the Chinese visitors. We're working closely with a lot of local organisations, particularly schools and business organisations. We're wanting to make these links much firmer. We like to sponsor certain events at the schools. We want to make the information as accessible as possible to the Chinese community, which is why we're working with the WeChat channel for the audio and the signage. We also want to make payment easy for the visitors, so we're working closely with Alipay and WeChat Pay as well to make sure that you can use these channels to make payment. And basically we're just wanting more people to be able to come and enjoy the museum.
Thank you very much for joining CBR Live Media. Thanks.